Jack Reynolds rubbed his eyes and took another sip from his now lukewarm coffee mug. The night shift at Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station was usually a quiet, mind-numbing affair. Static background noise, long-range pings from cargo freighters, and the occasional glitch that made him question if he was hallucinating. Just another silent night in the void. But tonight felt wrong. A light on his console began blinking, a slow, pulsing amber that crawled up his spine like a cold breath. Jack straightened, heart ticking up a notch. He tapped the screen, fingers suddenly slick with nervous sweat. "That's not normal traffic," he muttered. "What the hell are you?" The signal was faint, fractured, but it had a structure too patterned to be random, too desperate to be anything routine. Jack zoomed in, enhanced the waveform, and stared, then blinked. No, his mind wasn't playing tricks on him. It was an SOS. But not just any SOS, it was in an ancient emergency protocol Earth hadn't used in decades. Outdated, obsolete, forgotten. Jack's pulse spiked. He ran the origin coordinates. Nova Haven. He froze. 15 years ago, Nova Haven, a booming colony on the far edge of human territory, had voted to secede after a brutal fight with Earth's government. The schism had been political, personal, and painful. They cut all ties. No ships, no calls, no treaties, just silence. Until now. Jack slid on his headset, breath shallow, and tried to filter the static from the signal. Bit by bit, the noise peeled away like layers of smoke until words began to surface, clipped, terrified, raw. Under attack, unknown vessels, civilian casualties, request immediate Earth fleet response. Please help us. Jack slammed the emergency call button. 5 minutes later, Commander Maria Wilson stormed into the room, hair still damp from sleep, wrapped in the sharp discipline of someone who hated being woken at 2 a.m. "This better be good, Reynolds," she snapped, arms crossed, eyes narrow. "You'll want to hear this." He played the recording. Static crackled, but the meaning was unmistakable. Wilson's eyes flickered as the message repeated. "Nova Haven," she said, almost in disbelief. "They haven't spoken to us in 15 years. "This isn't just a message," Jack replied. "This is a scream." She frowned, arms slowly uncrossing. Could be a prank, but her tone had lost its bite. The console beeped again, louder this time. More data had come through. "Incoming feed," Jack said, voice tight. They watched as a grainy video flickered onto the screen. A panoramic view of Nova Haven's skies. Black shapes hung in the air. Ships vast, jagged, unnatural. No markings, no design Earth had ever seen. They looked like obsidian blades slicing through the stars. Commander Wilson's face turned pale. "That's no prank. Do we have any ships near Nova Haven?" Jack scanned the logs. Closest patrol is 4 days out, at best. Maria paced her boots, clicking against the steel floor. "Nova Haven cut us off. Politicians will say it's not our problem. That they wanted independence." But the video kept playing. Screams, buildings collapsing, civilian voices crying for help. "They're taking people, studying them." A silence fell between them. The kind that doesn't echo, it just crushes. "We have to report this to Fleet Command," she finally said. "Send it with highest priority." Jack nodded and began transmitting. "What do you think they'll do?" Maria didn't answer right away. She just stared at the looping footage. "Nova Haven left us," she whispered. "But those are still humans down there." Moments later, the red emergency line blinked. Fleet Command was already calling back, unusually fast. Jack answered, "They want you, Commander. Direct line." Maria took a breath, straightened her uniform, and activated the secure channel. Admiral Thomas Grant appeared on screen. His face was stone. "Secure the transmission. Send me everything you have." "Yes, sir." "Then delete all local copies. The Council doesn't want panic." Jack's fingers hesitated. Maria nodded slowly. Understood, Admiral. The screen went dark. She turned to Jack. Something big is happening, she said, voice barely a whisper. And Earth's fleet is about to move, whether they're allowed to or not. The high-security conference room aboard Earth Fleet Command was carved in steel and silence. 12 officers sat around a curved table that wrapped like an arm around Admiral Thomas Grant, who stood at its center with arms clasped behind his back. The room felt smaller tonight, tighter, like the oxygen itself had turned dense with what was coming. A hologram flickered in the center of the table, Nova Haven. The planet slowly rotated in pale blue and green, but now scorched orange marks bloomed across its surface like bruises spreading under the skin of the world. You've all seen the signal, Grant said, his voice steady. The question now is what we do about it. Captain Paul Mitchell slammed a palm onto the table. We do nothing. Nova Haven chose independence. They spat in Earth's face, said they didn't need us. Now they're burning and suddenly remember who Mom and Dad are. Several officers muttered in agreement. Across the table, Lieutenant Alex Davis stood up slowly. His jaw was clenched, knuckles white around his data pad. With all due respect, sir, my family lives there. Aunts, cousins, friends. I don't care what the politics were 15 years ago. They're still human, and they're asking for help. Your people chose this, Mitchell barked. My people are dying, Davis shot back. Grant raised a hand. Silence slammed into the room like a hammer. We are not here to relitigate history, the Admiral said. We're here to determine whether the Earth fleet will respond to a human colony under attack. At the far end of the table, Dr. Lisa Moore, the fleet's chief intelligence officer, cleared her throat. I've been analyzing the video fragments embedded in the SOS. These aren't pirates, Admiral. She tapped the control pad and new holograms appeared, shimmering images of the attackers' vessels. Their forms were jagged, obsidian black with no engines visible. No lights, no heat signatures. They glided silently like knives through silk. No known design in our database? Moore continued. No emblems, no patterns consistent with trade routes, raiders, or insurgent factions. But they're methodical, precise. They don't attack like raiders, they collect. Collect what? She hesitated, then brought up a chilling set of diagrams, screen caps of people being pulled skyward in glowing nets. Humans. The room froze. Not for ransom, not for slavery, Moore said quietly. They're collecting specimens, like researchers, or something worse. Captain Mitchell leaned back, suddenly quiet. No one met his eyes. Admiral Grant stepped away from the table, walking toward the vast window that overlooked Earth Fleet's dry docks. Massive warships floated silently in orbit, guardians that hadn't drawn blood in over 15 years. For some, they had become symbols of Earth's restraint. For Grant, they had become caged lions rotting with disuse. How long would it take to reach Nova Haven? He asked without turning. Commander James Wilson, the fleet's chief navigator, answered crisply. 4 days, sir, at full burn. 2 major jump points. We'd burn through half our antimatter reserves, but we'd get there. Dr. Moore looked down at her tablet. They have less than 2 weeks before full planetary collapse. Grant nodded once. The room burst into noise. That violates Interstellar Council law. We'll be branded as warmongers. That's an act of Earth aggression. This could start a galactic incident. Grant turned, voice a whip through the room. Let me be clear. I joined this fleet not to polish ships in orbit, but to protect humans. I don't care if they're Earth-born Martian Jovian or Nova Haven-born. If they're under attack, we answer. He tapped the command panel on the table. A 3D map appeared showing Earth, Nova Haven, and all potential routes in between. Prepare all ships for emergency launch. 6 hours from now, we jump. Captain Mitchell stood again, his voice tight with resistance. The United Council will never approve this. Then let them try to stop us. 30 minutes later, Admiral Grant stood alone in his quarters as his private communicator chimed. He didn't need to check the caller. He knew. He tapped the screen. The face of President Robert Turner, head of the United Council, appeared. Cold, stern, and already furious. Admiral Grant, we've received reports that you're mobilizing the Earth fleet. Is this true? Yes, Mr. President. Nova Haven is under attack by unknown forces. Nova Haven chose independence. Their defense is their responsibility. Their people are asking for help. Turner leaned forward. You are hereby ordered to stand down. Do not leave Earth orbit. That is final. The screen went dark, and Grant was left staring at the reflection of his own eyes in the black. 6 hours later, 21 Earth warships broke orbit, dark and silent. No transponders, no public comms, no radio chatter. From within the bridge of the flagship Guardian, Admiral Grant stood tall, looking into the faces of every crew member assembled. A hush hung in the air like a breath before a storm. I've received direct orders from the United Council to stand down, he said, voice steady. But I cannot. Not when humans are screaming for help. Not when we're the only ones who can answer. He looked across the room, then directly at Lieutenant Davis. I won't order anyone to follow me. This is against protocol, against politics, but not against what's right. If any of you wish to stay behind, you may. No shame, no mark. No one moved. Then Davis stepped forward. Sir, with respect, fuck protocol. Let's bring our people home. A roar of agreement followed. Grant nodded just once. Communications take us dark. No signal traffic. Let the politicians chase our shadows. We're headed for Nova Haven. The engines of Earth's forgotten titans ignited, painting the void blue. Behind them, Earth spun on in silence. Ahead, war awaited. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, indifferent to the war now hurtling toward them. Aboard the Guardian Earth fleet's flagship, Admiral Thomas Grant stood at the central holotable as 21 warships moved in formation behind them. Battle cruisers, frigates, destroyers, each vessel a relic of an older, bloodier time, now fully powered and heading straight into the unknown. Every jump point they passed brought them closer to Nova Haven. Every hour made defiance more irreversible. Commander James Wilson adjusted his jacket and leaned toward the Admiral. Still no pursuit from Council ships, sir. They're waiting, probably hoping we come crawling back or flame out in disgrace. Grant's voice was calm, icy, but behind the calm, there was something burning. Lieutenant Alex Davis was on the far side of the bridge running predictive combat simulations. He hadn't slept in 2 days. Every time he blinked, he saw the faces of his cousins, his uncle, the colony school he once played outside of as a boy. Status on comm silence, Grant asked. Holding, replied Communications Officer Patel. Signal rotation every 30 seconds. No digital fingerprints. If they're trying to trace us, they'll find nothing but shadows. Good, let's keep it that way. Darlisa Moore entered the bridge carrying a data pad tight to her chest. She looked shaken. Admiral, she said, we just received a final data fragment from Nova Haven before their signal degraded further. Play it. The screen flickered. Static. Then a dimly lit chamber. Human bodies alive but motionless floated in transparent cylinders filled with greenish liquid. Tall, gray-skinned creatures moved between them. Their bodies were eerily symmetrical, almost insect-like in posture, but their movements were smooth, methodical. Cold. One paused to examine a young girl no older than 12, pressing a finger against the glass like a scientist studying a new microbe. Another scribbled symbols into a glowing tablet. The footage ended. Silence fell. They're not just studying us, Dr. Moore said quietly. They're classifying us, categorizing, possibly engineering something. These aren't raiders. This is systematic collection. Like a biological survey, Davis murmured. Like we're the rats in the maze, Grant added, his voice low. And now the maze is collapsing. In the Guardian's engineering room, Chief Engineer Ryan Barnes was a blur of motion. His team worked 18-hour shifts rewiring shield modulators, stress-testing weapon systems, and running heat diffusion diagnostics. Sweat clung to uniforms and coffee was now a food group. "We're not fighting just ships," Barnes barked. "We're fighting puzzle boxes full of alien tech. None of it standardized, none of it predictable." He slapped a schematic onto the table. "Their weakness is integration. They're using tech from different species stitched together like Frankenstein's monsters. That means there are seams, and seams mean stress points." One engineer nodded. "And if we find those points, we break the whole damn machine." Meanwhile, back on Nova Haven, the skies had turned black. Marcus Lee dragged a wounded colonist across a rubble-strewn street, heart pounding, as the low thrum of alien engines echoed overhead. The air shimmered with heat and smoke. From the hilltop, he could see 3 massive obsidian ships floating just above the city skyline, silent executioners. "Get him to the tunnel entrance!" Marcus shouted to Ben, one of the last remaining militia. A beam of light lanced downward, disintegrating what had once been a town center. "They're not bombing everything," Ben gasped. "Just enough to drive people out." "Hurting us," Marcus spat. "Like cattle." They ducked into the bunker entrance, where Emma Clark sat at a console, frantically trying to stabilize a backup transmission array. "Still nothing?" Marcus asked. "No direct response," she said. "But I'm still broadcasting. If anyone's out there, they'll hear us." Just then the console blinked. "Wait." Emma leaned in, her eyes widened. "It's them, Earth, they're coming." Marcus exhaled, dizzy with relief. "How long?" Emma scanned the feed. 3 days, maybe less if they push it. Ben looked up toward the ceiling, toward the sky. "We just have to hold." Back in deep space, Guardian's bridge was alive with activity. 2 jumps left, Commander Wilson said. "After that, we're in Nova Haven's system." "They'll know we're coming after the next one," Grant said. "So let's make that arrival count." Lieutenant Davis brought up a tactical model. "We have confirmed that the attackers aren't acting like a traditional fleet. They move in coordinated formations that suggest some kind of hive intelligence. If that's the case, we're not fighting separate captains with different minds, we're fighting a single will." Dr. Moore nodded. "That makes them dangerous in terms of precision, but vulnerable in terms of centralization. Sever the head." "And the swarm dies," Grant finished. "Then we aim for the head." He stepped forward, eyes burning with intensity. "This fleet wasn't built to look pretty in orbit. It was built for war, for today. And we're going to remind the galaxy why Earth doesn't stay down when humans bleed." The stars rippled. Then Guardian dropped out of hyperspace. Nova Haven's sun blazed in the distance, its 3rd planet wrapped in green and blue, and shadow. Dozens of alien vessels orbited Nova Haven like vultures. Obsidian hulls, no lights, no markings. Their eerie black geometry made them look like ancient ruins drifting through space, if ruins could move and kill. "Jesus," Commander Wilson whispered. "There's 30, maybe more. And the big ones, they're not even moving, just hovering and draining." Grant's jaw tightened. "They haven't noticed us yet," said Davis. "Then let's use that." Grant turned to the ops team. "Send the Sparrow, broadcasting, peaceful contact. Make it loud obvious. Let them believe we're naive. And the rest of the fleet, hide behind Nova Haven's moon, engines cold, weapons ready." He stared at the display. "This is chess, and I intend to checkmate them in 3 moves." The sky above Nova Haven burned. Not in Inferno, that would have been merciful. It burned with silence, with dread, with the cold surgical cruelty of black alien ships hovering like predators above a wounded herd. They had no sound, no signal, no lights, just presence. 3 days into the attack, Marcus Lee no longer believed in rescue. He didn't believe in Earth, didn't believe in him. He believed in keeping people alive for one more hour. "Go, go!" he shouted, waving down a mother clutching her infant, a teenage boy holding a bleeding arm, and an old man limping on a shattered leg. He ushered them into the steel-reinforced underground shelter, just as a tremor shook the surface. The tunnel ceiling groaned above them. Dust rained down like ash. "We're running out of places to hide," Ben said, appearing behind him, face streaked with soot and sweat. That was the last shelter in this sector still standing. Marcus didn't reply. He didn't have words left to offer. They descended deeper boots, echoing down a corridor lit only by emergency reds. At the lowest level, the walls curved into a hardened command bunker, once meant for drills. It was now their final fallback. Emma Clark sat at the comms terminal, eyes dry and red-rimmed, typing like her fingers were fueled by caffeine and desperation. "Still no reply?" Marcus asked, though he already knew. "Not yet." She didn't look up. "But I've stabilized the backup generator. We've got maybe 11 hours of signal power left." Ben leaned against the wall, breathing hard. "And after that," Emma finally turned, "then we die." Silence. On the nearby monitor, live feeds flickered from scorched rooftops and shattered streets. Dozens of humans were seen being lifted, floating helplessly by beams of green-blue energy sucked into the underside of alien ships. They didn't scream anymore. They just stared, numb, resigned. "They're not killing us," Emma whispered. "They're taking us, processing us." Marcus clenched his jaw. "We're specimens to them, nothing more." Elsewhere on the surface, pockets of resistance still held out. Makeshift barricades, plasma rifles salvaged from the old militia days, farmers and teachers now fighting like soldiers. One group brought down a small alien drone using a jury-rigged mining laser. They cheered until 5 minutes later, when a larger vessel incinerated the entire block in response. That's what fighting back got you, a bigger Reaper. Marcus walked into the Defense Center's weapons bay and stared at what was left. Old Earth rifles with fading serial codes. A single shoulder-mounted railgun cracked down the middle, and tucked away in a locked vault, one relic of a forgotten era. The planetary defense cannon. Built decades ago under Earth's old protection treaties, never fired. Buried, disarmed, and all but scrapped after the colony declared independence. Marcus looked at it, then turned to Ben. "Can we get it working?" Ben blinked. "You're serious? It's a long shot. But if Earth's out there, if they're listening, we give them something to aim at." Emma's voice crackled over the intercom. "You're not going to believe this." Marcus sprinted to the control room. Emma pointed at the screen. The comm feed was weak, on the edge of collapse, but there it was. A ping, a reply, a code. "Earth," he breathed. "Earth fleet," she said, her voice trembling. "They heard us." In orbit 3 days out, Admiral Grant stood at the holotable in the Guardian's war room as the message came through. Emma's voice, fragmented, static-filled, was projected across the room. "They're taking us, not killing, studying, cannon, might, coordinate, please." Grant looked at the officers gathered around him. No one needed convincing now. Their eyes were steel. Dr. Moore adjusted her readings, her signals decaying fast. "But they've got some kind of ground-based weapon, and the aliens are ignoring it." "They think they've already won," Grant said coldly. "Arrogance. Or something worse," Dr. Moore added. "They don't even consider us a threat." Back on Nova Haven, it took 6 hours to reboot the cannon's core reactor. 6 hours of Emma crawling through maintenance ducts, Ben jury-rigging bypass circuits with scavenged cables, and Marcus yelling over every console beep that hinted at a power surge. Finally, the room hummed with energy. The targeting system flickered to life. "It's not at full power," Ben warned. "One shot, maybe two." Emma nodded. "We make it count." Marcus stepped to the console and opened a channel. "Earth Fleet, this is Nova Haven. Cannon online. Send us coordinates. We'll aim where you strike. Let's make them bleed." Back on the Guardian, Lieutenant Davis grinned as the message came through. "They've got teeth," he said. "Then let's give them a reason to use them," Admiral Grant replied. He turned to Commander Wilson. "Prep fleet for coordinated strike. Contact Marcus Lee on ground command. We're going to cut this swarm open." As Nova Haven's sky crackled with incoming alien dropships and energy webs shimmered across the horizon, Marcus looked at Emma, then Ben. "We're not survivors," he said. "We're bait with a cannon." "But maybe that's enough." Emma set the cannon's sight on the alien hive cluster. "I'm done hiding. Let's fight." Above them, 21 ships tore through the dark, faster than light, hotter than vengeance. And for the first time in 15 years, Nova Haven looked up and saw hope. The stars bent and screamed as Earth's fleet tore through space like a blade unsheathed. On board the Guardian, Admiral Grant stood on the bridge, eyes locked on the tactical display, as if willing the distance to shrink faster. The final jump lay just ahead, coordinates locking in. Time to Nova Haven, 3 days, 2 hours, and falling. "Report," Grant barked. Lieutenant Davis responded without missing a beat. "All ships holding formation, engines at 97% capacity. Jump point Bravo is stable." Commander Wilson added, "Long-range scans show heavy alien presence still above Nova Haven, numbers increasing." Dr. Lisa Moore stepped forward, her brow furrowed behind her glasses. "We've been decoding alien signal patterns between ships. It's not comms, it's synchronization. Like a hive coordinating brain activity." Grant turned. "A hive," she nodded. "More than a fleet. It's one mind with many bodies." A hush settled over the room. "So we're not fighting 20 ships," Davis said quietly. "We're fighting one enemy with 20 fists." "Exactly," Moore replied. "Every ship is a node, part of a larger organism. That's why their formations seem mechanical. It's a collective intelligence." Grant stared at the blinking mass of red enemy signals on the map, now clustered over Nova Haven like vultures circling carrion. "And if we sever the brain," "That's the theory," Moore said. "But we need to find it first." Below decks in the engine room, Chief Engineer Ryan Barnes crouched beside the fusion core, hands blackened with plasma residue, barking orders like a captain on a sinking ship. "I want coolant lines rerouted. Give me more buffer capacity. We're going to burn hot if we want to pull off synchronized attacks with surface support." His team scrambled. Sparks rained down as they worked, the hum of raw power coursing through the walls, like the heartbeat of a sleeping god about to wake. Barnes looked up and muttered, "Hope these bastards bleed." Back on the bridge, Davis stood before the fleet-wide tactical display, still glowing with constant simulation runs. "We've tried every standard approach," he said to the assembled command staff. "They beat us every time. But I've noticed something." He tapped a section of the simulation moments where alien ships faltered briefly during multi-vector attacks. "Their reaction time drops when we hit them from multiple unpredictable angles at once." Moore nodded. "Because the central mind has to process all sensory data simultaneously. Flood it with chaos and it stutters." Davis grinned. "Exactly. If we can swarm them from irregular patterns and coordinate with ground fire, we can overwhelm the hive's processing ability." Grant leaned in. "So we don't outgun them, we outthink them." "No," Davis said. "We outhuman them." As the ships prepped for their final jump, Dr. Moore received a partial video feed from Nova Haven's latest transmission. The resolution was low. The content chilled her blood. Captured humans shackled in energy cocoons. Alien figures, tall, gray-skinned with 4 limbs and faces devoid of expression, circling them like curious biologists dissecting frogs. The humans didn't scream anymore. One alien bent over a child, scanned him, injected something. The screen flickered. Moore shut it off. Her hands shook. She found Grant on the observation deck, staring out into the black void. "Admiral," she said softly, "you need to see this." She showed him the footage. He didn't blink, didn't look away, just watched, silent. When it ended, he turned to her. I want every ship in this fleet to see it, show them exactly what we're fighting. That's against protocol. So is abandoning Nova Haven. Across the fleet, screens lit up in barracks, galleys, training rooms. Pilots paused their drills. Technicians froze mid-wrench. Marines stared, fists clenched, jaws grinding. There were no speeches, no music, no slogans. Just the image of a child in chains. And the monsters who put him there. In the fighter bays, pilots prepped their craft. Lieutenant Davis walked among them, checking gear, gripping shoulders, nodding once to each pair of eyes he met. These weren't soldiers chasing glory. These were people who had seen the abyss and refused to blink. A mechanic called out, "Fuel cells full, all birds ready for launch." Davis climbed into his fighter. No simulations this time, he said to himself, only history. On the Guardian, the final countdown ticked toward jump point Bravo. Final fleet sync, confirmed, Commander Wilson said. All cannons charged, reported the weapons officer. Dr. Moore, she looked up from her console. I've narrowed it down. One of the enemy ships, largest in their formation, is the probable central node. It's at the core of their web structure. If we hit it, the entire system could collapse. Grant nodded. This is our one shot. Either we shatter their mind or they consume ours. He turned to the comms officer. Fleet-wide broadcast, give me the channel. The officer handed him the mic. This is Admiral Grant. His voice echoed through every corridor of every ship. What waits for us ahead is not just a rescue mission. It's not politics. It's not revenge. It's a stand for who we are, for what we refuse to become. They see us as experiments, as data points, as specimens. Let's show them what humanity really is. Jump. The fleet lurched. Stars streaked, and Earth's fury screamed toward Nova Haven. Space bent. And then the Guardian dropped into real space engines, whining as the black void snapped back into shape around it. One by one, 20 Earth fleet ships emerged from the final jump, forming into a tight, silent wall of steel. The Nova Haven system lay ahead. Third planet, blue and green, just like Earth once looked. But its skies were infected. 34 black alien vessels orbited the colony like a cancer. They hung motionless, at first blade-like silhouettes blocking out the sun. Smaller drones zipped between them and the surface, carrying people. My God, Commander Wilson whispered. They're still harvesting. Lieutenant Davis confirmed. Human life signs being pulled off the planet every 30 seconds. No response to orbital changes. I don't think they've noticed us yet. Admiral Grant stared at the tactical display. Good, let's use that. He turned to Dr. Moore. Which one's the hive's brain? Moore highlighted one vessel on the display. It was larger than the others, positioned at the center of the formation like a black heart. That's our best guess. Everything roots through it, probably the command node. Grant nodded. Time for first contact. Scout ship Sparrow, forward deployment. Captain Tom Reed tightened his harness as his small recon vessel coasted ahead of the main fleet. Behind him, his crew held their breath. All frequencies active. Broadcasting peace signals in every known galactic protocol, the comms officer reported. The Sparrow glided closer. The alien fleet didn't move. Keep going, Reed said. Maybe they're listening. Suddenly, one alien ship peeled from formation. Contact, the tactical officer barked. Target moving toward us, fast. The black vessel darted forward, a streak of darkness against the stars. Still no response to our transmissions, the comms officer said, fear rising. Hold position, Reed ordered, voice calm. Let's see how they react. The alien ship fired. A beam of searing green energy streaked past the Sparrow's hull, slicing the vacuum. That's a warning, Reed said grimly. Maintain broadcast. The second shot struck the Sparrow's shields directly. The ship rocked violently. Shields down to 70%. They're not interested in peace, Reed said. Pull back, signal the fleet. Back on the Guardian, Admiral Grant watched the engagement unfold. The alien ship didn't pursue it, just returned to its position like nothing had happened. Dr. Moore turned face pale. They fired with zero provocation, no hesitation, no attempt at understanding. Grant's jaw tightened. Then they don't see us as equal, only as prey. He turned to the tactical officer. All ships weapons free. Attack pattern Delta 20. It's time to introduce ourselves. 20 warships roared out from behind Nova Haven's moon. Cannons glowed. Missile ports opened, engines flared. The black ships hesitated just a beat before breaking formation. The first Earth salvo hit hard. 3 alien vessels took direct hits before their shields could fully react. One exploded in a spiral of obsidian shards. The others veered off systems, sparking exposed. Direct hits, Davis confirmed. They're vulnerable in the seams between their armor plates, just like Chief Barnes predicted. Good, Grant said. Let's tear them open. Alien response. The hive awakens. The black ships twisted mid-space and turned as one. Their once fractured movement patterns suddenly unified. They aligned flawless, terrifying, inhuman. Dr. Moore stood. They're sinking. The hive is assuming control. The alien vessels began to move in a perfect circle, beams of light connecting between them, an energy lattice forming a massive shared shield. They're combining defenses, Wilson said, shield strength rising. The alien formation glowed, then fired. A single green beam magnified through all ships at once slammed into Earth's destroyer Resolution. The ship evaporated. No debris, just gone. They're focusing all their firepower into one weapon. Grant's voice cut through the chaos. Evasive maneuvers. Break formation. Don't give them a clean shot again. As Earth's fleet scattered, the aliens began targeting one ship at a time. No emotion, no rage, just precision. But Earth had something else. Chaos. On the ground, Nova Haven. Marcus Lee watched from a scorched rooftop as the sky above exploded in light in war. The clouds themselves boiled from the heat of orbital cannon fire. He activated the comms. Guardian, this is Nova Haven. Our cannon's hot. Ready to fire. Just give us the target. Lieutenant Davis' voice came back through static. Stand by. We're going to force them to divide. Get ready to hit them where it hurts. Tactical coordination in orbit. Darmour analyzed the alien web's connections. Here, connection points between ships. If we break enough of these, the hive's integrity fails. Grant didn't hesitate. Send the coordinates to all ships. Aim for the joints. Bring the hive down. Missiles launched, beams arced. 3 Earth cruisers focused fire on one node. The alien shields cracked. One ship broke formation, then another. It's working, Davis shouted. They're falling apart. Marcus got the signal. Emma now. Surface cannon. Nova Haven. The cannon roared, an ancient beast awakened. Its beam punched into the sky straight through a disoriented alien vessel already wobbling from space-based fire. The ship exploded. Its pieces rained over the forest like black hail. Back in space, Earth's fleet surged forward. Focus fire on the command node, Grant ordered. Fighters distract their network. Draw attention. Lieutenant Davis led the charge, weaving his squadron through green energy, bolts dodging debris-firing missiles at key nodes. Alien fire chased them, then hesitated. The hive was glitching. Admiral Grant stood tall. All ships. Final target, the central node. Fire everything. Surface cannon, coordinate shot. Let's end this. Emma on the ground took a breath. Coordinates locked, cannon primed, ready. Grant raised his hand. Now, 20 ships fired in unison. Nova Haven's cannons screamed upward. The beams met, and the hive's brain exploded. The command node exploded in silence, no sound in space, only the blinding flash of fury. From the bridge of the Guardian, Admiral Grant shielded his eyes as the central alien vessel disintegrated into a cloud of molten debris. The massive green web that had pulsed between the enemy ships flickered, then shattered like glass under stress. "Connection severed," shouted Dr. Moore. "The hive's neural matrix is collapsing." All across the tactical display, the red dots that once moved in perfect unison began to jitter. Some spun in place, others veered off course. A few rammed into one another. "They're disoriented," Davis called out. "Their system doesn't know how to respond without centralized command." Admiral Grant's voice boomed through the fleet. "Push the attack. Don't give them time to adapt." In orbit, Earth's warships split into strike groups, targeting the flailing vessels with ruthless precision. One alien ship, its path erratic, tried to realign with a smaller craft nearby. Instead, it clipped its wings, spun wildly, and crashed into another, triggering a chain explosion. "Confirmed kills rising," reported Commander Wilson. 6 ships down, no retaliation patterns forming. Grant watched the chaos unfold. "This is what they never accounted for," he said. "A species that fights like wildfire." Surface, Nova Haven. The defense cannon cooled hissing steam, its chamber glowing with the aftershock of its one perfect shot. Emma leaned against the railing, hands shaking. "Did we get it?" Marcus checked the sky. Flashes lit up the atmosphere, falling wreckage scattered, alien crafts spiraling down in flames. "We did more than that," he breathed. "We broke their mind." Ben looked at his cracked display. "Then it's our turn." While they're panicking hit them again. In the bunkers, civilians emerged. Not because they felt safe, because the sky, once filled with alien terror, now shimmered with hope. The screams had stopped. The light looked different. Human ships now soared overhead, hunting black shadows. Across the colony, those who could hold a weapon found them. Engineers manned broken turrets. Farmers reactivated old militia drones. Even children hauled ammo boxes. No longer victims, now fighters. Back in orbit, Earth's ships took advantage of the confusion weaving through the enemy remnants. Admiral Dr. Moore said urgently, "We've confirmed the hive was a single organism. Each ship is like a severed limb, still dangerous, but now operating blindly." "So they're wild animals," Davis added, "lashing out at anything. And vulnerable." Grant didn't hesitate. "All ships pick them off. Don't let a single one jump out of system." One by one, Earth's warships vaporized the disconnected alien vessels. A frigate disabled a ship's engines. Fighters swarmed in and blasted its weapons array apart. Another enemy ship, desperate and disoriented, fired randomly into the void, only to be flanked by 3 destroyers who reduced it to atoms. Then came the retaliation. A ship still active locked onto the Talon, an Earth corvette. Too late. A searing bolt of green light split the corvette in half. "Talon's gone," Davis whispered. Grant's jaw clenched. "We pay them back with interest." Final enemy cluster. Above Nova Haven, only 6 alien ships remained. They drifted erratically, but some began sinking again, slower, weaker, but attempting to rebuild their lost mind. Dr. Moore paled. "They're trying to re-establish control. A backup protocol, maybe, if we let them finish." "We won't," Grant growled. "Finish the job." Davis launched with the second fighter wave engine screaming. Squadron Beta target node ship B, full missile spread. Beneath them, Nova Haven's last surface turrets fired upward, creating a crossfire storm. 2 alien vessels tried to flee the system. "Not today," muttered Commander Wilson. The Guardian's main cannon powered up, then fired. Both ships vanished. In the chaos, something unexpected happened. A fragment of alien wreckage still broadcasting signal pulses began emitting new patterns. Not military, not command sequences. Moore stared at it. "That's a distress call. They're signaling for reinforcements." The bridge fell silent. "How many?" Grant asked. "No idea," she replied. "But we can assume the hive wasn't alone in the galaxy." Grant turned to the tactical screen. "Then we send a message of our own. The final strike. All ships," he commanded, "target the remaining hive nodes. Burn them from the stars. Leave no record. If their kind comes looking, we want them to know one thing. Humanity doesn't run, we fight. 20 ships unleashed hell. Beams, torpedoes, railguns, everything fired in unison. The final enemy ship cracked apart like an egg in a supernova. Shattered, gone. Silence. Then cheers. Across every deck, every comm line, every surface. Nova Haven had survived. Flames still danced in the skies of Nova Haven. But they weren't falling bombs or alien plasma bolts anymore. They were burning wrecks. Fractured remains of a once flawless hive now tumbling back to the planet in pieces. The war was over, and humanity had won. On the Guardian's bridge, Admiral Grant stood in silence, not triumphant, not smiling, just breathing. All hostiles neutralized, Commander Wilson confirmed. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were rimmed with emotion. No movement detected from any remaining alien craft. Dr. Moore lowered her tablet slowly. I'm detecting no hive link frequencies. Whatever controlled them is gone. Grant nodded, then turned toward the comms officer. Open a channel to Nova Haven. A crackle then. Marcus Lee's face appeared on screen, blood-stained smoke in the background, but smiling for the first time in days. This is Marcus Lee of Nova Haven. To Admiral Grant, Earth Fleet. We see you. We saw everything. Behind him, people were cheering, crying, embracing. You saved us. Grant's voice stayed even. We almost didn't come. Marcus's expression turned serious. But you did, and you brought hell with you. We'll never forget that. They locked eyes. In that moment, 15 years of silence and bitterness fell away like ashes in the wind. Prepare for ground support and medical teams, Grant said. Help is coming. Later on the surface, the Guardian's lander touched down just outside the ruined capital. Admiral Grant stepped onto Nova Haven soil for the first time in decades, flanked by Commander Wilson, Dr. Moore, and Lieutenant Davis. The people gathered, survivors from underground, children who'd lost parents, parents who'd lost everything except hope. Marcus approached and offered his hand. Grant took it. Never thought I'd see Earth officers down here again. Never thought I'd be back. Behind them, Earth Marines began unloading medical kits, power generators, food crates. Engineers moved to reinforce damaged buildings. Some helped carry bodies. Any idea what they wanted? Marcus asked, nodding toward the smoke-streaked sky. Dr. Moore answered, not yet. They didn't just take people. They studied them, recorded everything. For what? We may never know. In orbit hours later, on board the Guardian, Chief Barnes reported to Grant. Ship-wide repairs underway. Minimal structural losses, though we lost resolution in Talon. 43 confirmed dead. Hundreds injured. Grant took a slow breath. And the aliens? Barnes shook his head. Scrap metal. No tech worth salvaging. It's all fused or grown into the ships themselves, like biomechanical constructs. Moore added, I've compiled every signal they sent during the battle. We're working to decrypt it, but she looked up. We're not alone, not anymore. That night on the colony's broken skyline, Earth soldiers and Nova Haven civilians gathered around bonfires. They didn't speak much. They just sat together. One little girl brought her drawing pad to a Marine and showed him a picture she'd made, a black alien ship with red flames around it and a blue Earth ship crashing through it. That's your ship, she said. You saved us. The Marine, big, scarred and exhausted, broke into tears. 3 days later, a memorial was held near the old Central Plaza. Admiral Grant stood beside Marcus as names were read, soldiers and civilians alike. A silence followed, not heavy with grief, but charged with purpose. Then Marcus spoke. 15 years ago, we left Earth because we thought we didn't need them. 3 days ago, we thought Earth had left us. But they came. They came with fire and steel and fury, not to control us, but to stand beside us. He looked at Grant. We were wrong to split, but now maybe we can rebuild, not as separate colonies, but as one people again. A wave of applause swept the plaza. Back aboard the Guardian, Dr. Moore sat alone reviewing alien transmission logs. One segment repeated more than the others before the hive collapsed. Not a command, not a target. Just one alien phrase auto-translated by Earth's linguistics AI. Phase 1 complete. Test subjects viable. She leaned back, cold creeping down her spine. "Oh no," she whispered. She activated a private channel. "Admiral, we need to talk, now." Admiral Grant entered the dim briefing room, the door sealing behind him with a hiss. Dr. Lisa Moore was already there, standing in front of the central, hollow display, arms crossed, jaw tight. No more warmth, no more awe, just cold professional fear. "What is it?" Grant asked. She didn't waste time. Before the hive collapsed, they transmitted a burst signal encrypted deep band embedded in quantum noise. The hologram shifted, displaying a pulsating data sequence, alien characters that flickered between languages as the AI tried to interpret them. Grant frowned. "I thought the hive's central node was destroyed." It was Moore confirmed. But like all good scientists, they backed up their work. She turned back to the screen. Their signal wasn't to the rest of the fleet. It wasn't a distress call. It was a report. She tapped the console. Phase 1 complete. Test subjects viable. Begin Phase 2 upon receipt. Grant's face turned to stone. Phase 2. That wasn't an invasion, Admiral. Moore's voice was barely above a whisper. It was a field test. A probe. They weren't trying to conquer us. They were trying to understand us. Catalog us. Like we were lab rats. Exactly. The room seemed to grow colder. "And now that they have what they want," Grant said slowly, "they might send more. Or worse. Earth Command, encrypted uplink." President Robert Turner's face appeared smaller than before, and this time not in control. "Admiral Grant, we've reviewed your report. The Council is concerned." "They should be," Grant said bluntly. "This wasn't a rogue species. This was a calculated scientific expedition with military teeth, and we just kicked their instruments into 1,000 pieces." Turner's voice faltered. "Then we wait. We strengthen defenses. No." Turner blinked. "No, we don't wait," Grant said. "We prepare. And we warn every human colony, every allied species. We let the galaxy know what we faced. Because next time, if there is one, we won't just be targets." "What will we be then, Admiral?" Grant stared through the screen, fire burning in his eyes. "We'll be ready. On Nova Haven." Lieutenant Davis stood near the makeshift memorial, now expanded with names newly carved into steel. Some were Earth Fleet, others Nova Haven civilians. Beside him stood a young boy holding a worn-out toy ship. "You were one of the people who came from the sky," the boy said. "You fought them." Davis nodded. "Yeah, but we didn't win alone." The boy looked up. "Will they come back?" Davis knelt to meet his gaze. "If they do, we'll be here, and we'll fight together this time." In orbit, final fleet report. Admiral Grant stood before the entire bridge crew. "Today we ended a threat, but we also learned the truth: we are not alone. And some out there see us not as allies, not as enemies, but as curiosities." He scanned the faces in the room, officers who had defied orders, pilots who had risked everything, scientists who had cracked a hive's mind. "If they come again, let them find more than a subject. Let them find a force, a wall, a people who remember what happened here." He paused, then smiled grimly. "And let them remember what happens when you test humanity." 3 weeks later, Nova Haven bloomed with life again. It wasn't peace, not yet. The skies still carried the ghost of war. The buildings were scarred. The people were rebuilding with bruised hands and tired hearts. But the silence wasn't terrifying anymore. It was hopeful. Admiral Grant stood beside Marcus Lee on the steps of the colony's rebuilt council hall. Above them, a new flag waved, a hybrid of Earth's and Nova Haven's crests fused into one. Never thought I'd see that, Marcus said, nodding toward it. Never thought I'd salute it, Grant replied. Beside them, Lieutenant Davis stood with Nova Haven's militia, now trained by Earth Fleet specialists. Emma ran the new planetary comms grid, her fingers never still. And Dr. Moore had taken up residence on the surface, establishing the first interstellar threat analysis center, complete with pieces of broken hive tech under reinforced glass. Everything had changed, but something had healed too. In a live broadcast beamed to Earth and all human colonies, President Turner, now visibly humbled, spoke clearly. Nova Haven stood alone, and Earth answered. Today we announce the formation of the Human Unity Pact. No colony shall stand alone again. From Luna to the Outer Rim we rise together. Thunderous applause echoed across planets. Admiral Grant didn't smile for the cameras. He smiled for the people, those who had stood their ground when no one came, and those who came anyway. That night, under stars now free of black ships, a girl asked her mother, "Will they come back?" The mother held her close. "Maybe. Are we ready?" She smiled gently. "We are now."